Hi everyone and welcome back to The Learning Gardener. My name is Pip if you haven't been here before, and in this video we're going to be dealing with this incredibly messy patch in the garden, and we're going to be trying to tame the beast, and that is going to involve multiple parts and a lot of work. Step one is going to be dealing with our seedlings. These have been needing to be planted out for about 3 weeks now. Some of the snow peas have actually started to flower under here, and the broad beans are folding themselves over because they've grown so much. Now you might ask, why have I not planted them out? Why have I been so delayed in doing this? And that's because we've had 600 mils of rain in 10 days, and it has rained every day for 3 weeks pretty much. We're on to day 2, I think, of sunshine. And yeah, so we're just getting around to it now. We need to get these guys almost anywhere as fast as possible. Otherwise, they are going to be the second round of seedlings that we lost. The first round of fall crops and winter crops that I planted, they all got eaten by some critter, which is why these guys are under a tunnel, which is also why I didn't rescue them from the sheer torrential rain that we've had. So I'm expecting that a lot of seeds got washed away and that we're not getting germination of some things, and that's just life. I have tried to sow onions now about 4 times and none of them have come out, so I have bought some from the store, and I've tried to sow foxgloves and things like that for a while, and every time I sow foxgloves it's torrential rain and I think they just get washed away. But we do have some smaller seedlings in here, so we're going to check on them. If they're ready to go, we're going to plant them, but these guys, they just absolutely have to get dealt with. Step 2 is going to be dealing with the strawberry and blueberry bed. If you guys have watched other videos on the channel, and hopefully some of the videos were videos that didn't get lost on the SD card that failed me, but this situation was way worse. There were seedlings and strawberries and everything cascading over and taking over the grass. I had my niece and nephew for a long weekend, and my nephew helped me trim some of them back, and we dug up some of the strawberry shoots, oh no, from this side of the bed, which so far has been the tastiest of the strawberries. And I've just found one of the really invasive lilies that grow in this area in the strawberry bed, which is depressing. But anyway, so what we discovered when we took the netting off, which you can sort of see the structure behind me, is that the soil level in here has dropped about hand height, so a good slug, gross, a good 6 inches, maybe more. In some places it's much more than that. And so what I thought I would do is dig out some of these, dig out that invasive lily, and I'm going to move 2 of the 5 blueberry plants that we have here into the other garden bed that my nephew and I put some of the new strawberry plants in, and we might dig out some of the strawberries that don't taste as nice and aren't as productive and just let these tastier ones take over. But it desperately needs weeding, and it needs some TLC obviously in a very big way if we're getting invasive lilies in here. So this is job number 2. Job number 3 is kind of related to number 2. So when we clean up the side of the strawberry bed, we obviously need to deal with all this grass, but most of this grass is actually weeds, invasive lilies, and a really invasive other weed. And I hate dealing with this area. It is so hard to whippersnipper in here because there's a whole bunch of rocks, and obviously there are also strawberries in here. So we want to get the strawberries out, which is already where I've harvested a heap of new strawberry plants from, and get the sticks that Rafa has brought down to chew on things while he searches for lizards underneath the house. And what I want to do is vinegar all the weeds and kill them, and lay down cardboard. I don't know if I have enough cardboard, but hopefully we do. And that will hopefully smother them out and kill them, and then put some wood chips around here like we have with the other beds, but I haven't got enough wood chips at all to do that. So I might order more this weekend. It'll depend how the weather's looking. We're looking like we have 2 more days of rain, which is just a nightmare. But we're going to try and get this done and try and get this tidied up this weekend because it's a mess, and I'm going to show you behind me where it's even worse and threatening to invade job number 4. So through here we've basically lost sight of the herb bed because the weeds have grown so intensively, and this is the weed that I loathe because it's like a succulent. If your whippersnipper or lawnmower kicks them up, it just spreads, and in this really wet weather it's just been spreading everywhere. It's just the worst. So it does appear that we managed to kill the invasive lily that was coming up here, but you can see that the herb bed needs a clean out and a tidy up and a taming for, this is I think this one's the lemon thyme, but it just desperately needs a haircut and a weeding, and we also need to put some compost in these soils. The other thing we need to do when we're working on the strawberry blueberry bed is to actually put some more soil acidifier in, because this soil is actually really, really alkaline. So we need to put some more amendments in when we lift the plants up and put some more soil in. Job number 5 is technically one we have done together before, but it was on the SD card that lost about 6 or 7 videos. And I'm going to kill this little grasshopper while I see him. The job is to reclaim this garden bed from the invasive grass. Well, it's not invasive, but it's invading. And the dripper hose needs to sort of be reorganized. We need to do a prune. I've managed to get some bricks that don't have holes in them, which is lovely, and I want to make a garden bed for this. The other thing I want to do is actually finish shaping this garden bed. I always wanted to make this wider, but I previously didn't have time, didn't have soil, which still are problems, and it was too hot in summer, which is no longer a problem because we're well and truly into autumn now. But a lot of these plants need to be cut back. These grass seeds I want to get rid of as fast as possible, and I just want to, get everything right, get everything mulched, get everything neat and tidy and sorted. I don't want to have what we had last winter / early spring, which is baby snakes being territorial in this area because it's out of control. So I'm not interested in that because I'm not interested, but also because my puppies love chasing lizards and they would 100% go after a snake, and there is no way that I could call them off. So we need to get this managed and tamed. We need to get all of this managed and tamed. The final job that we need to do together, and I've lost count of how many jobs there are, I feel like this is number 5, but in no particular order, is obviously to continue the taming around the front for the same reasons everywhere else, and also because it looks gross. But we need to get these pots sorted. We need to deal with things that are looking rough. We need to plant pots that have just become weeds, and we need to deal with the dumping ground, which has become a mosquito zone. So we need to deal with all of this and get this whole area tidied. It's a lot to do in one long weekend, but we're going to see what we can do. Let's get on with it. In order to rescue the seedlings from the seedling trays, I need to have somewhere to put them. So I'm going to clear out most of the rest of the potatoes every time, the tomatoes that we have, and these ones are just going straight in the bin. You might be wondering why I'm not trying to salvage some of the many tomatoes that are still on this plant, and it's because everyone is diseased, and it always has been, and it always will be. I'm not even going to put this in the compost because that's how bad these tomatoes have been. They are a golden jubilee, I believe, and they are rubbish. I think I had one that wasn't totally revolting, and I'm just not interested in them ever growing again. The one that we have directly behind that, I will absolutely harvest from. These are just Romas. They were planted later in the season, so I'm going to harvest all of those and pull the plant out. I've had enough of waiting for them to finish up. It's time for them to be done, and I've previously added some compost to this bed as a process of beginning to turn it over for the fall crops and for the end of the summer season, but I didn't have enough to finish this area, and particularly the corner down the front. So I will top that up. This is a bed where we planted some of our garlic. So just in front of me here, we've got the elephant garlic emerging, finally, 600 years after it was planted. But still, it's the best garlic we've ever planted so far. Haven't even harvested it yet, and it's doing better than it ever has before. So I'm going to pull this out, get this bed ready, and start. Maybe I might actually clean out the other 2 tomato beds first, and then we'll get them prepped, add some compost, and put the seedlings somewhere where they can be happy. Well, we're doing well today. We've got dying mic packs, we've got SD cards that are running out of space, but we've got a bowl of Roma tomatoes. Most of them are okay, and we've got 2 more beds of tomatoes to clear out to actually have some space to plant our, what am I putting them in there for? Plant our seedlings in what is going to be the sunnier locations in winter. And in pulling out the tomato supports, some like these green ones, these are years and years and years old, and most of them have disintegrated. That one's still doing okay, so it'll go for at least another season, but some of the other ones I need to actually take down to the tip, which is a problem for another day. But what that means is that just behind me there is already a giant mess of things where the removalists dumped a whole lot of pots and other outdoor equipment and stuff like that that really needs to go in a garden shed. A garden shed which I do not have yet. But what that means is that putting all the tomato supports and all of that sort of thing on top of it as we clear out these beds for the fall season, where I don't need as many supports, it means it's turning into an even bigger mess. So if you like these kind of videos where we clean out giant messes and turn them around, well, welcome to the garden, because we got a lot of work to do and a lot of things to try and do this winter before the weather starts to heat up again, so that we can have a more successful season and hopefully a less messy one next year. So the mess actually hasn't changed. What we're hoping for is that today the mess is what's going to change. So I cleaned out tomatoes out of 5 beds yesterday, and then because the days are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, we ran out of time. So today, as I said, we're going to start off with filling the beds up with compost. I might go and get Clarence so Birdie can feel a little bit happier, because her best friend walked past our house the last 2 days and she got very upset that she didn't get to see him. But then what we'll do is start getting these seedlings into the ground, and that will hopefully clear out a lot of this space. So we're doing an early morning start, and we're just going to get straight into it. A couple of other things before we get going. This was our main tomato beds, the first two that we planted. Both of these have had at least an inch of compost added. This one just to this end, and this one had it the whole way along, but you can see the soil has still dropped down a huge amount. So we're definitely going to need to add, I think, probably a layer of mushroom compost first and then a decent layer of homemade compost on top, but it kind of depends how much we have. I'm going to be taking the oyas out of this bed, and if you start to hear some growling that sounds a little bit like a lion, that is Birdie and Raffy doing their morning zoomies. But we still have some of the capsicums that are in both beds, because as much as people say that they are a cold season crop, I mean a warm season crop, I actually find that they're, she's in hunting mode now, they're actually more productive at the moment for me than they have been all summer. So hopefully a little bit of a top up of compost will do similar things to what happened when I put the compost in for the tomatoes. The tomatoes were nearly dead and then they took off like a rocket again. So obviously they weren't getting enough nutrition, and we're hopefully going to rectify that today. The other thing we did not take out of this bed is the Mary Washington asparagus, because obviously it is not ready to be cut back yet. I'm just going to wait till it turns brown. I don't know when that will happen, but at some point it will. So I'm going to start off by getting these puppies happy and go and get plants, and then we're going to get the compost going. It's taken us a while, but we are finally getting to put these seedlings in the ground now that I've spread what compost I have and what mushroom compost I have, and now that we have rushed Rafa to the vet. So he was playing with Clancy, sliced his leg open on something, and he now has 4 staples in his leg and is inside sleeping it off on some stoner pills. So we will have to keep ducking in to check on him, but what a morning. Okay, So let's get these unwrapped. Got plenty of pins in under here to keep the critters out. It's amazing how tiny the broccoli are. The various beans and sweet peas look pretty yellow and stressed, which is fair enough when you've had 600 mils of rain dumped on you in 10 days. But we need to get to work and get everything in the ground. So the first thing I'm actually going to start with is some onions. We're going to pop them in a bed of their own. First in the ground is going to be my store purchased onions, and we're going to get these into a beautiful home compost, nice thick layer, and I'm just going to put just onions in this bed, and I'm hoping that that will give me my best onion harvest that I've ever had. And as you can see, we have our injured party out with us because I went inside and someone had pulled off his bandage already because we don't have a cone of shame. And so I had to re-bandage it. Then I tried to lie with him to have him settle so he'd be fast asleep on his pills. That ended up in me falling asleep. So hopefully now we might actually get something done. So we're going to put our onions in here, aren't we, Raffy? And onions aren't good for dogs, so don't get any ideas, pal. So we've got, what have we got? Cream gold and a pack of reds. So I tried my onion seeds, multiple different packets. I tried maybe 4 or 5 different packets over about 8 weeks, and nothing came up. So I'm going to try giving my onions more space than I usually do to see if that helps me get a bigger bulb. The other thing I'm obviously trying to get a bigger bulb is using homegrown compost, which will be the very first time I've ever planted onions with homegrown compost. And obviously the tons of fertilizer in there as well. And I'm not planting them with anything else. Previously, I've loosely done a square foot gardening method, which is a bit hard to say that I've done square foot gardening when I have the book but have not actually done anything other than think, yes, let's give everything about 30 centimeters. So we'll see if this works, hey? We're back in the garden. Yesterday was horrendous weather, and unfortunately that means everything got even more rain and the ground is even more soggy and muddy and disgusting, and it's just horrible out here. Unfortunately, because I was away for the first part of the downpour and then by then it was, done and dusted, everything's looking pretty stressed. The ground being wet or wetter again is a problem because that's where I was planning on planting a lot of these snow peas. So we're going to call it quits on this project for this weekend because we now also have mud all through the house. And I'm finding it very difficult to manage Rafa's injury and be out here because every time I leave him alone, he's pulling his bandage off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undrown the seedling trays as best I can. And unfortunately, a lot of things like the spinach have just died because they got too waterlogged while I was away, or some things the seeds have just washed away and nothing has come up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these up on the deck, which they're down here because I didn't want them up on the deck anymore, but we're going to have more rain this week, which is super annoying, but it is what it is. So we're going to put these guys up on the deck to at least keep them dry for a few days while I'm at work, and we're going to come back next week and finish this project in YouTube time. It'll be in about 10 seconds. So all I'm going to do today is get these guys up on the deck and call it quits. It has been a few weeks since we got out here together, and as you can see, we've had more rain. Not only have we had more rain, we have had full-blown flooding. We've had a sinkhole in the local bridge that has cut us off from the rest of town. It's been, to be honest, a bit of a disaster. So we're only just getting back out here now, and it's already well and truly after lunch. We're getting out here so late because it was so cold this morning that there was a pretty thick layer of frost all over everything, and it was so cold that the puppies and I went back to sleep with one dog under each arm, and we slept until lunchtime. And despite that, I'm still feeling a bit exhausted, and like my motivation is low because my iron levels have dropped through the floor, which is unfortunate, but we're on it, and it'll just take a little while for that to sort itself out. But we're going to try with what's left of the day, and there's not a lot because tomorrow is winter solstice. We're going to try and deal with the strawberries. So step number one is going to be to take everything out of the garden bed. In that bed we were just looking at, there were 5 blueberry plants, and I was planning to move 2 of them here, and then as the weeks passed and we didn't get back to this job, I was thinking maybe I should move the 3 that are in this one here so they have more space and more soil and all of that sort of thing, and the 2 extras here. And in that time, these blueberries have started to put flowers on. So I really don't want to move them now that they're happy, even though what I wanted to do was lift them up and put more soil in because it has sunk quite a lot. But given that they're flowering, I'm just going to leave them alone. I don't know why they're flowering in the middle of winter. It's not even the middle of winter. We're almost first month into winter. But they are flowering and they look happy, so we'll just leave them for now. So I'll put the 2, I think one's a peach sorbet and the other one's a, I want to say lemonade sorbet, in here, and then we'll just see how everybody goes. This one, the strawberries that we did move last time, have taken fairly well. They're still little, but it's winter and it's cold. It is in fact so cold that all the other seedlings that we were going to plant around together still haven't been planted. The reason the other ones haven't been planted is because only the beans put on true leaves. Everything else is still sitting there completely stagnant. The cabbage, for example, has been sitting there with just its 2 little leaves that came up with germination for about 8 weeks now, and they haven't put on any true leaves. not even one in some cases. And so I can't transplant them until there's at least 2 true leaves. And obviously they're just like, look, mate, this winter's been way colder than normal and your autumn was way colder than normal and we're not happy about it and we're not going to grow until spring. So I'm just letting them sit there for now. The only ones that I could probably transplant and hopefully will transplant today are the Utah giant celeries and hopefully the sweet peas. I could have transferred the sweet peas in the weeks gone past, absolutely, because like these peas, they were good to go. With the floods, they would have died straight away because they're going in the ground and the ground is even still like a soup bowl. And apparently it's going to rain for the next 3 days again. So, yeah. It's if it rains as much as predicted over the next couple of days, in the last 9-10 weeks, we will have had over 1.7 meters of rain, which is taller than I am. So, yeah. It's ridiculous. I don't know if these guys are just miserable because of all the rain we've had, but what's interesting is these blueberries have lost pretty much all their leaves, although these ones are starting to flower too. So they really have to get moved today. But they have these like weird little thorns on them, but whatever. So as you can see, this has become an overgrown mess as it was before. It is potentially a little bit worse now. So what I'm going to try and do is unearth each plant, and this end of the bed had the nicer tasting strawberries. So if we do thin out the plants, I'll be keeping more from this end and less from that end. There are a ton of weeds. There's like the world's biggest dandelion weed in here. And I have also seen some invasive lilies that are in this area popping up through here. There's one just here, which is super annoying. So I want to try and dig them out properly. So we're going to do all that. The soil level has dropped a heap. And this soil was much more alkaline than I realized, and berries really like a high pH. So I'm going to take everything out, dump a heap of soil acidifier in, and then pop a thick layer of an azalea and rose acidic soil on top, and then pop everybody back in, minus these stupid invasive lilies. So that's what we're going to get to. Hopefully we won't kill any blueberry plants, but got to do what we got to do. We did talk about cleaning out this garden. I still want to do that, and I have some nice solid bricks with no holes so grass can't go through it, and I plan to make a nice garden edge with that. And I'm completely in love with how much the amaranth have poofed up. They look really, really cute, so I will show you that close up. But this just all desperately needs a tidy out. Since you guys last saw it, Birdie had quite a lizard hunt in here, so everything just got flattened. So it needs like a full makeover now, so we probably won't deal with that today. I'm also debating the lemon tree. So I keep going back and forth about the lemon tree roots, and I've done some research, and nothing seems to definitively say that they will damage the stormwater drain, but the stormwater drain is right underneath and I'm paranoid. So I am going to dig it up, but I don't know if I'm going to transplant it or put it in a pot, because one day I would like to end up on more of like a proper homestead as opposed to an urban homestead. So I guess if I put it in a pot and can limp it along in a pot, essentially, until we can go to the dream house, then at least we'll have a more mature tree there. So let me know what you think. Put it in the ground or put it in a pot, and hopefully one day have a more mature tree to plant at a future homestead. So we've cleaned out maybe like a third of the garden bed, and what I'm going to do in a second is pop out this last blueberry. I've tried to take all the strawberries out first so that I could... Raffy, why are you searching in the strawberries? So that I could try and preserve as much of the blueberry roots as possible. And then what I'm going to do is try and dig in a whole bunch of soil acidifier to really drop the pH in this soil. And then I'm going to load it up with some more of the topsoil. I'm not sure if I have enough. I suspect I don't, because I would like to top up that other bed so that I don't have to do this again next year with the other bed. I did wait as long as I could with the other bed to try and let it compact with all the rain, but that process does take time. So anyway, so I'm going to fill up this part and see how much I've got left, whether I need to go to the hardware store to get more, and we're going to fertilize and replant this blueberry and all of these strawberries that I've dug up, or most of them, and at least that will have them so they're not roots exposed for quite a long time while I deal with this side. So we'll just deal with this 1/3 at a time and one pop at a time. Oh jeez Louise, and get this blueberry out of the ground and get some soil acidifier in the ground. Doing this hopefully allows me to preserve as much root ball as possible, but there isn't a huge root ball after just one season in the ground, which is kind of good because, as I said, beneath the, and this mostly looks like the actual soil that we put on top, the acidic soil, most of the deeper soil is quite alkaline, so I'm kind of happy that there's not a deep root base. Generally, I try and do a loose no-dig method through my garden beds, just because, number one, it's more trouble than it's worth. Can you please stay away from the soil acidifier? And I mean, obviously I have to dig out potatoes, but like if I saw an infestation of the curl grubs, I would dig what I could see out, both because we feed them to Draco and because they eat the roots of the plant. I also don't dig because I just want the roots to have a chance to actually compost down, to give the worms something to feed on. Times I do dig are things like when I'm putting an oya in, which is an irrigation pot made of a specific kind of terracotta. I have got some homemade ones. They do work, but they're not quite as effective as the specially made ones. My digging assistants also do some digging. Birdie, come on, off. Oh, except Birdie's just dug up a grub. So we'll get that grub and deal with him. Good girl. So this is a kind of curl grub that I'm talking about. They eat the roots of your plants, they eat the roots of your grass. They're a real pest. They actually turn into a black beetle. And why does this happen every time we try and clean out? Raffy, don't eat the squash grub. Every time we try and clean out a garden bed. So I am going to put these two chaos monsters inside so they're not playing with the sulfur granules or squash bugs or sitting in the way. And then I'm going to get on with this. almost finished planting back this third of the bed, but I still have a whole nother full pot of strawberry plants to theoretically put back in this space, which is not going to happen. So what I will do is, as I keep going, as I said, the strawberries down that end of the bed didn't taste as nice, so I will remove those, and I have some friends who said they'll adopt them and they can take the plants, and whatever is left over I will compost, because I want to leave those other garden beds as a specific type of strawberry so I can determine what the taste is like on those. This one was kind of like a mishmash of strawberry varieties, which is why I can't tell you which is the variety that tastes nicer. So we'll just get these potted up. We've got about an hour left of sunlight, which I'm going to spend getting firewood and bringing it into the house, because if it does rain tomorrow, we need to have some dry firewood, especially if it's going to be as cold as it has been this morning particularly, but also over the last 2 days we're having a bit of a Arctic wind situation happening. So I need to spend some time doing that. So we've only got a third of this done, which is a little bit disappointing, but it's what happens when you sleep in super late and get a very late start. So hopefully it doesn't rain tomorrow, and hopefully we will be back planting more strawberries, and hopefully these guys will survive. I'm not going to water them in, both because it's supposed to rain for the next 3 days and because this potting mix has been sitting out in the rain and it's already saturated, so they should be sweet. Hopefully hopefully they don't get transplant shock, and hopefully we get an abundant harvest of strawberries down the track. If not, you live, you learn. So hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. If not, thanks for watching. We made it back. It hasn't rained yet, but I have again been really tired all morning, so it's another late start, and it's going to be a short day because it's our winter solstice. I went to the hardware store to pick up more of the berry mix, only to discover that it has doubled in price. So I didn't get as much as I was planning to. So what I've got is just going to have to be enough, and I think it will be. I've just been all over the garden picking up all the stray bits of potting mix that are around, and I think it'll be plenty. These strawberries are looking a little bit wilty this afternoon, so perhaps they do need a water, seeing it hasn't rained. It does feel like that potting mix has dried out a little bit, but we've got to get a wriggle on and get things done. There's still rain forecast, so obviously we're still dealing with that, but also we went for a little bush walk with the puppies and spotted a fairly large black snake, and my best friend Rachel, who lives 3 doors down, said she had a baby black snake in her backyard maybe a week or 2 ago, and unfortunately that gives me a little bit of PTSD from when we were setting up this garden 12 months ago, and there was an early baby black snake that scared the bejesus out of me, and it was hidden in amongst things like the discarded cinder blocks and stuff like that. And from the move and from all the work I've been doing, there's still stuff everywhere, and I really need to get on with dealing with it. So we're on a time crunch. We've got to get to them. We also have to save the flooded trees, so we've got a lot of stuff to do. So seeing that snake has kind of lit a fire under my backside, so to speak, to hurry up and get things done and stop being so lazy and can have a nap later. So we just got to get things done. We've got to get things cleaned up. My dogs are lizard hunters, and I honestly think that they would chase a snake the same way they would chase a lizard. And as many of you probably know and can tell from my accent, we are in Australia. Most of our snakes are pretty dangerous. So I do not want to be dealing with that. So we need to get rid of any hiding spots for the snakes. It is priority numero uno. So one of the things I was doing or hoping to do in order to assist that was have my dad down. He was supposed to come down this weekend, except he hurt his back and it was forecast to rain. But is to get the shed finally set up, because at the moment we just have strips of Colorbond everywhere in the backyard, which I find very annoying, and Rafa is very injury prone. So I worry he's going to slice himself open on a piece of Colorbond. You might think that's an over-exaggeration, but then you haven't met Rafa. So we need to get that up and running. We need to get behind here. Sorry about the background noise. We need to get behind here all sorted, because as you can see, there's a whole heap of rocks. There's usually loads of lizards in under here. And it's all really overgrown back here. So it'd be a perfect hiding spot for a lizard. That'd be fine, for a snake. So needs to get sorted ASAP. As happened all the way through this video, I once again had mic pack issues, but this is the finished product. We did get some rain and it was raining as I was filming this part, which is why the camera is up on the deck. But we managed to get the 3 blueberry plants and a lot of the strawberry plants back into the fruit berry bed, and managed to tidy up the herb bed, although everything still needs to be mulched and I need to put more in the herb bed. But I figured I would wait until the rain has stopped before I do any of that. But I just wanted to show you guys what the final product was, and we didn't manage to whippersnipper around the beds because there was just so much water still everywhere that there was no point in even worrying. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, and we will see you again in the next one. Thanks for watching.